The migrant crisis here in the city is reaching a new high. The buses keep arriving, with officials repeatedly saying the city is reaching a breaking point. News 4 government affairs reporter Melissa Russo is live in the newsroom. And Melissa, even a city jail is now being talked about as an option for housing migrants.
It is, Chuck. Rikers Island is now one of the places being floated to house asylum seekers. The mayor says they're looking at hundreds of options. The mayor and his team will not say if Rikers is real. And one question is whether, after months of putting up migrants in midtown hotels, the city might be looking to deter them from coming here. 5 buses arrived today, and it is not.
So for the people who are listening on the podcast, the Chiron, the words at the bottom of the screen that scroll usually, it says nearly 50% of New York City hotel rooms filled by migrants. That's a true statement. That's what got me into this. I saw an article. I'm like, that can't be true. It's true.
Hola, bienvenidos.
It may be a migrant child's first memory of New York City, the literally uplifting moment when they stepped off a bus and received a playful welcome from volunteers on the ground. But many of these migrants remained waiting at Port Authority in the past hour as our sanctuary city scrambles for space to house them.
We got 4,200 people last week came to our city for shelter. I need everybody to wrap their heads around that for a moment.
They could.
I need you to wrap your head around that for a moment. 4,200 people came to a sanctuary city that I called a sanctuary city in a sanctuary state where we said, come on in, we'll take care of you. We're not like all these other states and cities that don't want you. Wrap your mind around that. Right? That's what I like. Does this guy understand what he's saying?
Yeah, remember it's like what Martha's Vineyard last summer. Remember when everyone started arriving, and it's like Martha's Vineyard has all these signs across the island. All are welcome here. All are welcome here in the sanctuary state of Massachusetts. Once they come here, they're like, we want nothing to do with you. You know, they were in Martha's Vineyard for like less than 24 hours before they shipped them off and sent them somewhere else.
They had the National Guard there to get them out. The National Guard there to get them out. And this is the problem is I will agree sometimes with rich people and some things that happens. That was a bunch of rich people ticked off that they were being affected by this, right? And again, I think this shows the duality of what goes on in our country is because we're going to see in this video, you have people, low-income people being affected by this. And you know what? The government's like, oh, there's nothing really we can do. But if you're a rich community and you get some immigrants and all are welcome, they're welcome for less than 24 hours.
And this is at a time, this was like September of last year. So talking about Martha's Vineyard, you know, with all the Airbnbs, all the vacation housing, all the rentals, this Martha's Vineyard was probably the most housing rich place of any place in the country that you could put people. And even they were like, nope, sorry, you got to go somewhere else.
Well, we'll see a little bit more, and we'll talk about it in this video too. But they're thinking of putting them at Rikers Island in a prison. Great. That's just. Oh my gosh, here we go.
Sleeping anywhere from a midtown hotel, which Mayor Adams says is unsustainably expensive for taxpayers, to Rikers Island.
Everything is being considered.
Parents and students today protesting the use of school gymnasiums, charging the city should not try to solve one problem by creating another. The city later in the afternoon moved some migrants out of schools.
We support asylum seekers on school grounds.
But not because of the protests, they say.
I'm not reversing strategy. The strategy was to have emergency sites for short-term respite, which always meant that people would move to another site when that became available.
Claiming the city is at a breaking point, Deputy Mayor Ann Williams-Isom called on other cities to pitch in and help.
Yeah, the other sanctuary cities that are going through this, because a couple weeks ago on our show, we talked about Chicago and how they're overloaded. We're talking about cities in Massachusetts that are overloaded. And now we're talking about New York, they're overloaded. This is a federal problem, and they're going to get to that. But these people, just a couple of years ago, were sitting there beating their chests. We're nicer people than everyone else because we care about immigrants. It's not that the people that were sitting there saying, hey, listen, we need to figure something out, didn't care about immigrants. They knew this would happen. They knew there was going to be poor planning. There's no place to put them. It's going to be a huge expense. But these people didn't care because you know what? They could use that as political capital and say, you're a bad person because you don't care about people and I care about people. Well, now they're dealing with the effects of their decisions, which weren't good decisions. If they've been thinking about this for years, why weren't they building facilities? Hell, during a pandemic, we built facilities to house people that we might have to quarantine. Where are those? Not only where are those, but if you could build those so quick so you could quarantine people, why can't you build facilities to house people? And not only that, why couldn't you do this before for people that needed help? American citizens, taxpayers, homeless veterans, elderly people that were not eating because they had to pay for their gas. All right, there's a little more.
Help unburden New York. Meanwhile, the public pushback could help Mayor Adams make his case that President Biden should be offering more in the way of federal solutions. The mayor saying today he may or may not decide to use Rikers to shelter migrants, but that negative optics will not be a factor in that decision.
I'm willing to make the tough decisions and not get bottled down in what the optics are. And whomever is telling us not to go somewhere, I have one question from them. You tell me where we should go then.
I will tell you. Call me up. Call me up. I'll tell you. Will you tell him, Jim?
I'll tell him.
Like there's, I got some places I could tell you where they could go.
Yeah.
I got some ideas to tell you what you could do. But you know what the problem is? We're the bad people. We're the bad people that say, hey, listen, maybe we can help these people out in their homeland. We're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. We're sending millions of dollars to Ecuador to teach drag shows. I kid you not. That's a story this week. We have all this money. We're blowing like crazy, but we don't have the desire to look at people that are coming in our country saying, where are these people coming from? What is the problems? And can we offer real solutions to those problems? The problem is our politicians only want a photo and a quick fix. They want to stand there for a photo. I'm a nice person. I did something. Whether it's effective or not, they can say, I did something. And then when it all goes to crap, they're like, who's got a better idea? Who's got a better idea? Everyone that was telling you for years we had better ideas and that your ideas were stupid. That's who.
I saw another news article recently with Michael Burry. He was the guy that was famous for The Big Short in 2008.
Yes.
And his company, they have to release a 13F, which just discloses what sort of companies that they're invested in. And the only company that he was invested in, all his other money was in cash, but the only money that his company was invested was a company called Geo Group, which pretty much specialized in, it was a private company that specializes in dealing with the migrant crisis. So I think he might have been onto something a little bit a few months before all this stuff started happening.
All right, let's get through this really quick. We got a couple slides to show off this video.
Governor Kathy Hochul has asked President Biden to build federal shelters on federal property because she says this is a federal problem that is right now costing New York billions of dollars because of New York's unique dual status as a sanctuary state with a right to shelter.
The governor, hey, this is a federal problem you created because we're a sanctuary state. So you should give us money because we're a sanctuary state. I bet you if you didn't call yourself a sanctuary state, they wouldn't be sending them there. Does that kind of make sense? But these people, oh my gosh, these people have lost the plot. So really quick on the screen, I found a couple of articles. I'll read them a little bit. But Mayor Adams signs a $275 million deal with New York City hotels to house migrants. This is my point. $275 million. You don't think $275 million in Ecuador, in Haiti, would help people out? So the story goes from News Nation, Mayor Eric Adams has agreed to a $275 million contract with the Hotel Association of New York City to house at least 5,000 migrants for the next 6 months. 5,000 migrants. That comes out to $55,000 per migrant. That's crazy. $55,000. You know, it's funny. I was talking to someone about this week, and I said, "Listen, I bet you if you told them, hey, we'll give you $15,000 if you go back home,' they'd be like, yeah, because 15,000 back in their country, they could probably do some things and make their country better." And that's what we want. We want everyone around the world. We want these migrants to have a better life, but we're doing it the wrong way. We have to be better. We can't just say, hey, listen, we're going to take these people in for this photo and to make ourselves good people for political capital. And then all of a sudden, when it gets real hard, be like, we don't know what to do, and just stop wasting money. It's not just wasting money. I watched a video is they went and they talked to local business owners next to these hotels that usually have travelers. So you have these 5-star hotels that are housing migrants, and we're going to show you some pictures of what the migrants have been doing. And they're like, our business is down because we don't have tourists anymore. So crime's up a little bit, and business is down. And when business is down, guess what happens? You get less tax revenue. So next year they're going to be like, hey, we're hurting for tax revenue too. What happened? Well, what? They're not serious people. They pretend to be serious people. They pretend to know the answers. They don't. And it's evident in everything they do. And we still sit here and we like, oh, this person has the answers. They don't have the answer.
Yeah, it just leaves you as like, you got to think that like our leaders can't be this incompetent. So you have to start like searching for other reasons why they would be doing this. And it's just like, there's really no good answers that come with that. I mean, we talked about before with like stuff going on in the banking sector and commercial real estate. And you're like, is this the government's solution to trying to fix all these commercial real estate properties that have lost value because no one's using them? Is this like their fix is to throw migrants in there like as like a band-aid? It just it's hard to believe that our leaders can be this incompetent.
So I found another New York Times article, and it says Mayor Adams criticizes Biden and rare public rebuke over migrant crisis. The mayor blamed the White House for not doing enough to help New York City deal with the influx of migrants or helping them find work. So that's the other thing, helping them find work. And you're like, what do you mean helping them find work? So I guess what's happening is a lot of these people, they want to put to some sort of work, but they don't have work for them. And the article goes on, Mr. Adams, who said it could cost the city as much as $4 billion to feed and house the migrants over the next few years. $4 billion. Here's a problem that's going on. We have pension funds for public employees around the country that might be insolvent or could be insolvent, and they're short billions of dollars, right? This could go to help people's pension funds. This could go to help homeless people. This could go to help the elderly. This could help with heating for people that need it. But no, what we do is we have politicians that just waste money. And here's one other thing I wanted to get to, one other really quick. Officials say that more than 55,000 people seeking asylum have arrived in New York City since the spring of 22. Close to 35,000 are being housed by the city and receiving services. That is crazy. And like you said, 4,200 people just showed up on the bus again. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. 5 million, suppose they say 5 million immigrants have come since Biden took office into the country. And what you're starting to see is initially people didn't care, right? They thought it was a Texas issue, it was a border issue, but now it's starting to come home, and now it's starting to affect people. And wait a couple years when people's taxes go crazy, and it affects their pocketbook, and things are really going to change. Because look, you had kids out on the street protesting, like, we're not against asylum seekers, we just want our gym back. It's just a gym. Wait till these kids realize that they're going to be paying for these people for years.
Justin, everything's going to be okay. We're reaching a negotiation. We're reaching a deal with a national debt. So we're just going to increase the national debt. We're going to just like write all this money in. So everything's going to be completely fine. Don't worry about the spending. Don't worry about the extra taxes. We're coming up with a deal in the next week. So everything's going to be fine.
So for the people on the podcast, if they want to go to the Daily Mail, they can search for the Row Hotel. I guess there was a kind of a whistleblower. He worked there, and what he did is he went on a bunch of different shows saying what's going on in those things. I heard a story of I guess their parents will leave their kids there for a week by themselves. There was a drunk 10-year-old girl or 12-year-old girl with a couple of other drunk teenagers because they're not being watched. And then he had pictures. And I'm putting the pictures on the YouTube for people on YouTube to see. There's just alcohol, food, clothes, because obviously it's what people do. Sometimes when you get money or you're in a place like I was in the military, you're going someplace else, you're far away from home or something like that, and you just have a lot of time, a lot of money. What do people do? They drink, they have fun. But I guess I guess it's like riddled with people getting pregnant, fights. It's a free for all. Like the headline says, it's a free for all of drugs, sex, and violence. And then they're also saying because things are getting in disrepair because these people aren't cleaning and the maids can't get in and things are falling apart. And you're taking a 5-star hotel and you're decimating it. So, like I said, you got to look at the pictures. And the problem is, like I said, the problem is I'm not blaming these people. Like just need to do better, and we can do better. But politicians, unfortunately, I gonna have to keep saying it. They just want the quick fix, or the thing that seems to be the quick fix, where they can have a photo, and then when things go awry, it's blame someone else. You just heard the governor of New York City say we need help from the president to build on federal facilities because this is his issue. But at the same time, they're proud that they're a sanctuary state, and New York City is proud it's a sanctuary city. Well, are you proud?
The thing too is we're not talking about like 10 years ago they were going around saying they were proud to be a sanctuary city and sanctuary state. This was like literally a year ago that they were going around saying it. So all this stuff is pretty recently, as last year that they were celebrating all this stuff. And then fast forward to today, completely different story.
I'm going to give some people out there a heads up why. Last year was an election year. This year is an off cycle, so there's no election, so they can complain. And next year they're going to love these people again, and they're going to cover this up. They're going to take your money to cover this up and not tell you about this, that they're doing this because they want to get elected and be the good person and use this as political capital. And I'm sick and tired of people being used as pawns as political capital.